Today, we are going to really examine in detail how to immigrate to Canada through the Federal Skilled Worker Program. Now, obviously, the Federal Skilled Worker Program, also abbreviated to FSWP, is the main way for highly skilled immigrants to move to Canada permanently via, those permanent residency pathways. Now, but when we say it's the main way, it's a huge way, right? It's a massive way for highly skilled individuals, part of families all over the world to successfully emigrate to Canada and start a new life. So how can you, as an individual listener, really benefit from Canada's Federal Skilled Worker Program? For a start, let's talk about numbers, okay? It's no secret that Canada aims to welcome, still over 400,000 new immigrants each and every year. And it is anticipated that well over 125,130, even 160,000 of these immigrants will come via the express entry route. So, express entry is now the management system of the Federal Skilled Worker Program. Again, over the past 6, 7, maybe 8 years or so, literally, about 50% of all newcomers to Canada have arrived under express entry immigration pathways. So, let's look at the process of immigrating to Canada via the FSWP immigration pathway. Well, step 1 is obviously to ensure you meet the FSWP eligibility criteria. And to do this, I would absolutely suggest that you take up a free assessment tool, which is available on our page, schooloutside.com.ng. We just ask for a little bit of details from you, and we would help do that for free. Step 2, this one is often very much overlooked in terms of, the limited Canadian immigration information that's dished out or given out by the so-called Canadian migration agents and immigration lawyers, as I say. So step 2 is that you need to get your education verified, okay? You're going to need to use an educational assessment company such as WES, WES, which is, World Education Service. Although, WES is not the only educational credential organization. And again, head over to schooloutside.com.ng for a full list of those. So the other thing that you're going to need to do at this point is take your IELTS test, IELTS test. So that's your English language test. If you're applying to Quebec, or indeed if you have reasonable communication skills in French as well as English, then obviously you have to take the different exams as well, TEF for the French. Now, you can take both, and you can take the English exam and the French exam, or you can take the French only or the English, depending on your or with the language skills that you have. So what you're actually doing is increasing your ultimate chances of being granted a visa. And talking about the IELTS test, we offer classes for individuals who want to write the exams, preparatory classes. So head over to schooloutside.com.ng and we will guide you from there. Now, there are two very confusing issues around express entry that appear confusing, but once explained are actually very simple. Okay? 1, 67 points. Where does this 67 point issue come from? Okay? So, where the 67 points come from is that once your express entry has been lodged, you are assigned what is called a CRS score, a comprehensive ranking system score. But you will only be accepted into express entry if you're scoring the 67 point, which is required to make the ultimate federal skilled worker application. When you're called, or if you're called forward from the express entry pool. So maybe it's interesting to actually look at it or explain in a different way and go through it, because it's very, very important. Now, you cannot enter or cannot successfully enter the express entry pool without already being eligible for the ultimate visa that you're going to apply for in terms of federal skilled worker program. Okay? So once you've got those 67 points, technically, then you can enter the express entry pool. And then express entry gives you a whole new score, which is called the comprehensive ranking system score. Okay. And it's from this comprehensive ranking system score that they choose who is going to be called forward and who is going to be issued an invitation to apply for the permanent residency visa. So only once you've received that invitation to apply the ITA does the 67 point thing even kick in. Okay, so you need the 67 point to apply for express entry, right? To be accepted into the express entry pool or express entry database. Once you're accepted into that database, you're allocated a CRS score, a comprehensive ranking system score, and it's that CRS score that dictates whether you will receive an invitation to apply for the ultimate visa for which you need the 67 points. Confused? Don't be. It's actually really straightforward. Head over to schooloutside.com.ng and we've put up a best-selling guide to really break this down step by step and really help you make that successful visa application. And that's available globally for just less than $50. So moving on to the next step in the FSWP process. Obviously, once your express entry is in and lodged, and obviously you're going to be called for the invitation rounds. So IRCC usually holds draws fortnightly, every 2 weeks, and it usually issues invitations to apply to applicants with the highest CRS scores. Although this does fluctuate and can fluctuate between a relatively high and a relatively modest scores as well. Now, and the next step is for you to look out for your eligibility for provincial nomination. All right. So once your express entry is in, there are loads of things you can do to improve your CRS score. One of them is you can get a job. Okay. The next one is that you can receive a provincial nomination. Both of those things are going to give you some really, really juicy CRS scores and pretty much boost you through, or definitely, yeah, I would say definitely, but certainly indicates that you're about to be given that ITA, the invitation to apply. So what happens after you receive that invitation to apply? All right, so this is a stage that we love to be here. We have been given the ITA. But the whole process in this point actually doubles again in effort, right? Now you have to submit your permanent residency application directly to the IRCC, okay? So once that process is completed, then you can move to Canada, okay? So let's go through that federal skilled worker program eligibility criteria, right? So as we said, in order to be eligible for the FSWP, you need to meet the minimum criteria for work experience, language, ability, education, and school. Those all important 67 points out of a total of 100. All right, so what next? What else? You need at least 1 year of continuous full-time paid work experience within the past 10 years. Okay? And your work experience must fall under the National Occupation Classification or the NOC code and have skill level 0A or B. NOC A typically require a tertiary education. So university degree, university education, and that's the university degree or university education. And the NOC B jobs are the highly skilled trades category. Okay, let me repeat this. NOC A typically require a tertiary education, like your university degree, university education, college education, whereas NOC B jobs are in the highly skilled trades category. So other criteria for the FSWP: 1, as we've said before, complete an English or French language test designated by the IRCC. The example is the IELTS, IELTS for the English, or the CELPIP, the CELPIP, CELPIP for English, where we also offer classes for that purposes. You can head over to schooloutside.com.ng. Then if you have French abilities as well, then you will be looking at taking the TEF, the TEF language test, which is recognized and acceptable for this purpose. Now, the purpose of the ECA, like we've mentioned, the educational credential assessment that you absolutely need to do now. The purpose of that is to obviously map your foreign educational certificates or qualification to the equivalent Canadian standards or to the Canadian educational framework. Then finally, in order to get that 67 points out of the possible 100 on the FSWP matrix, it's interesting to look at how those potential 100 points are even broken down. So let's start with the education. You can score up to 25 points for your education skills. For language skills, can get you up to 28 points. Work experience up to 15 for arranged employment. So if you have a job offer, up to 10 points. Then your age, you can score up to 12 points for your age, all right? Then adaptability, again, up to 10 points for adaptability as well. Now, some people say to me, Michael, when should I put in my express entry? Or they worry about, the CRS points, or maybe it's a little bit too low. But really, what you have to think about is this certain thing in life, is that there's absolutely zero chance of receiving an invitation to apply if you're not in the express entry pool. So we need to actually crack on, okay? If Canada is on your radar and if you're absolutely motivated, if it's where you see your life and your family's life improving, then there are certain steps that you need to take. Those steps are the same as everybody else in that FSWP program. 1, like we said, is the educational credentials. 2 is the English test. 3 is to submit the express entry. 4 is to work on improving your CRS score by getting a job or a provincial nomination. 5 is by making that application after receiving the invitation to apply. And the other thing to think about when considering when to put in that express entry application is, of course, your age. Now, you get maximum CRS points for being aged between 20 and 29. And from the age of 30 onwards, you do see a gradual erosion of point score awarded for your age, certainly. So you know that as you start losing points for age, you have to start making up those points elsewhere. And that's going to be through the language test, through your education, through your work experience, etc. So as soon as you have that idea, that candidate is where you want to be. That means you're where you want to be. As this is just all about it. So how do you begin? To get started, I would encourage you to get our guide. Take the simple and easy, straightforward steps to ease and making a successful Canadian FSWP application. Good luck.